All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries, intergalactic interplanetary time travels. As you see fit to call yourselves, we salute you. This is Oliver, and I'm in a bunker I call Studio 72. It's all defense. All day long, it's all defense. May 28th, 2025. And I thought I would just kind of pitch a few of my independent lens perspectives on some of the things that are going on. I just think I should zero in on Medicaid in this big, beautiful, disastrous bill. Just briefly, because, there's too much going on. There's too much to unpack. I can't even get into the global war dynamics. We're on the brink of World War IV. I mean, I'm waking up in the middle of the night having, nuclear holocaust nightmares again, which it's been a couple of months since I've been having thoughts that we're on the brink of a nuclear holocaust. Here we are again. I thought Donnie was going to do it for us. I thought that Donnie was going to do it for us and can bring that peace. It's way out of his hands. They're even his people of his own party that are sabotaging him. We understand that, right? That's really critical intel or information or a duh, bro. Yeah, bro. It's the Rhino. It's the Republican neocons, bro. Yeah, well, it's also the Democrat neocon liberal / warhawks that are with them. So that's a whole nother layer of anxiety and issue and deep thinking. But I just, with the Medicaid and some of these dynamics, the number one thing, without giving, too much background, it's so easy for me to fall back into talking about where I'm coming from as a social service worker and working for peanuts back in the day of Portland for years and years and years with at-risk youth and all this, blah, 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 blah. Without me doing that, I just want, which I just did, right? There it goes. It's important that that's my lens, though. I'm giving that independent perspectives and lens. And I'm over 50. I've been in Portland my whole life. And these last 5 years in Portland, I don't even recognize my own town after 50 years. And I've seen a lot of changes. I saw us through the 80s with all the crack epidemic and all this shit. It's been ugly. I've seen us ugly here. But this is actually the ugliest I've ever seen it. Maybe a little uptick in improvement, but not even really enough to put on the record. But the independent lens on the Medicaid, the number one issue is don't even start talking about Medicaid and Medicare. Don't even start talking about coming for the entitlements. I'm so tired of all these MAGA apologists, and I love MAGA. I consider myself American first. But all these MAGA apologists, I've got it all wrong. It doesn't touch Medicaid and Medicare. No, it does. It's right there. It says it right there coming out of it. When you do that, when you put Medicare in there, when you say no longer 53, it's not going to apply to 53-year-old men. We're now going to bump that up, and all you 53-year-olds down to 65, you're now going to have to jump through all these same loops. So we're targeting the elderly to keep their insurance and keep them alive. That's what's in this bill. So just stop. Stop gaslighting me because I'm 100 yards ahead of most of you. Don't gaslight me. I know damn well what's in there. So when you coming in with work requirements and you come in saying all of these things, you're targeting. Now, cutting waste and cutting the illegals and cutting all of this, that has nothing to do with the budget. We're doing that. Doge is already exposed. It has to be codified. Why aren't the Republicans codifying it? Why isn't Congress codifying all this good shit that Doge did? Maybe because the rhinos are working with the neoliberals. They want to sabotage Trump's success. They want to sabotage Elon's and Doge's success. And the guy has hit a wall. He's now saying, F you. I spent $250 million here trying to get you guys in gear. Now you're in gear and you're going to shit on me. You guys are going to come at me like that, come across America like that. It's not personal for Elon. I can sense he's thinking of America's best interest and well-being. I honestly believe that about him. I have some issues. I don't need to talk about it right now. I don't need to talk about lithium batteries. I don't like lithium batteries. I don't need to talk about it. And I just did. All apologies. The Medicaid, if you're not going to touch it, don't mention it. Don't let it come out of your little tweaks. Beep, 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 beep. Don't put it in paper. Don't go on Fox talking about all this crap. Don't try to justify and rationalize. Don't try to tell me that we're rooting out Medicaid fraud from all the illegals, because when you're talking about Medicaid, when you're doing all that crazy bullshit, your little beaks are chirping Medicaid every single time, and that sends the message to the base. That sends the message to the American First umbrella. You're making Trump look like a liar. You are discrediting Donnie, our commander-in-chief, when you do that bullshit. This is something that everybody seems to be missing on all the shows and video independent streamers that I watch. They're not getting that. They're not understanding the psychological damage that you do to the brand of Donnie. Because he's repeated for months over and over and over again. No cuts to Medicare, no cuts to Medicaid, no cuts to the SNAP. No, we're not going to hit the poor. We're not going to come for this. We're not going to do that. Oh, that's Democrats making up stories. Now look at it. Now look at your big, beautiful, polished golden turd bill. I don't think it looks so big and beautiful. Nobody in America does. Nobody in Congress does. That's a polished turd, not a big, beautiful bill. Now, I don't blame Trump for that. I blame the congressional operatives on that. I think Trump wants a legacy. He wants to go out on a good note. He does not want to attack the working poor, which is what we're dealing with here. Now, there's a lot of complications with Medicaid, and I'm privy to some of these inside operations because I've worked with social services. I understand how that works. How do we get this person off the street? We need help. We need federal help. We need subsidies. We need Medicaid to get them into a doctor. Let me say this. Let me back up 1 second here with the Medicaid. It's on point. People don't just go file and get on Social Security. They don't just go file and it's paperwork, which is 100 pages, 50 pages. It's a major operation to get somebody filed in on that application. Just getting the application together. To get someone on Social Security, you have to have disability, both, but the Social Security disability, there's SSDI, there's SSI. You have to show the last 2 years of medical appointments to provide I want to say courts, that's because you eventually go to a federal judge, you're in front of a federal judge, and I have taken people down there personally, clients of mine, and shown them and advocated for them, and to have us be shot down and have us devastated by the judge in a letter months later. It's traumatizing, especially when you know people are going to die. Your client's going to die unless they get some help. And they need Social Security to get some help so we can get them into an apartment. They need that Social Security so they can pay the rent. They need that Social Security. They need the Medicaid so they can get the doctors. You need 2 years of medical chart notes to present to a Social Security disability analyst to show someone is in standing, not doing well physically, whatever that data is. They need those charts. They need those numbers. They need those tests. That's what I'm trying to say. They need the tests. The Social Security disability analyst needs the tests. It's evidence. It's proof. It's science. So then they've got the psychological thing. Well, what's wrong with you? You're not doing well? Psychological is almost nearly impossible. Unless someone's been institutionalized, I've never personally seen anybody get Social Security disability if they weren't institutionalized or having periods of being locked up in 72-hour holds. And that's what it takes. Most people that are struggling and homeless, they're not getting in those psych holds. So let me digress a little bit. I just wanted to present that because this Medicaid and getting people, we need more funding for Medicaid. We're in a crisis, a humanitarian crisis, have been for years in Portland. Have been for years Some could argue decades. I'm just going to say we've been in for several years, not decades, but one could argue. Because we don't have the money and the funding, which means housing and the medical and the insurance. We don't have the crisis counselors. We need so much resources and help from the federal government under that Medicaid umbrella. We are in bad shape. We are at a point right now. I predicted this last year, 12 months ago. I predicted this 6 months ago. Of the housing crisis bubble is going to boom because everybody's been given rent increase required by law to do 90-day notice when the rent increases are coming. All that came last year. And I said, all these new people are going to go houseless. And here we are. Now Multnomah County says we're underwater. They might have been underwater before, right? Now they're saying we're underwater. We have more evictions and more houseless than we can process help. We have no units. We don't have any sleeping little, whatever you want to, what do they call those? Safe village. They're private, secure little places to sleep. I don't know how you want to brand that or label it or call it, but we don't have any of that. And a part of that, I believe, is because the country is sending Oregon and sending the West Coast, all of their deranged, all their mentally ill, everybody that's not diagnosed, they don't have insurance, they're not on the paperwork, they don't have 2 years of chart notes because they're not even psychologically able to get into a doctor for 2 years or even one visit, maybe 2 months visit, who knows if any visits. We've got to get those people in there before we can even get them processed for a disability SSI claim to save them. Because we're losing about 100 people a month right now. Dead. We had dozens of people floating in the Willamette River this last month. Dozens. Fire chief says, the bodies, it's warming up, so that's creating the gas, and these bodies have been down there, and it's normal. This is the fucking fire chief. Portland. Oh, it's normal. Yeah, we always see lots. This is what he said. There might be 50 dead bodies this month. It's pretty normal to have 50 dead bodies floating in our rivers. Who the fuck is that guy gaslighting? Oh my God. Don't make me start asking for budget cuts and funding cuts on Portland Fire Bureau. I love you guys. When I hear that shit, the chief's got to go. The millionaire chief's got to go. Whoever it was that said that. Because that's delusional shit. Don't you damn fucking gaslight me. I've been here 50 years. We don't get dozens and dozens of dead bodies in our riverways. I've been watching the rivers here for 50 years. Don't fucking start with that bullshit, boss. That's where we're at right now. That's where Portland's at. San Francisco's going to be worse. Los Angeles is going to be worse. They got 100,000 people living in blue tarps smoking fentanyl, chasing the dragon. 100,000. We got 15,000 now. They were trying to say it was 5,000 or 6,000 last year, and now they're trying to wiggle. They're just dancing around the numbers. They're dancing around the dead bodies that are stacking up in Portland. I'm not exaggerating. This is not hyperbole. This is a reality check from a social service background, long-time Oregonian, Portlander, giving you the facts straight up of what's happening in the streets and our waterways right now. We are in a humanitarian crisis. When I hear people talking about cutting funding, you're worse than a serial killer to me. You are on that level of a serial killer. If you know even half of what I know, just reading the data, I'm just watching, just looking at not even following autopsies. The medical examiners don't want to talk about the autopsies around here in Multnomah County. I don't know about your neck of the woods. Nobody wants to talk about the autopsies and what's going on there, but that's a whole nother video. I'm just reading the data from the news and from the press releases of dead bodies floating all over and all these. We got new numbers of estimations of houseless people. It's bad. It's real bad. And to make things worse, a couple million Oregonians don't give a fuck about them. And there's a couple 100,000 of you sick bucks in Oregon that are cheering on the people to die here in Portland because we're a bunch of liberal fuck up dipshits. A lot of them are here. That doesn't mean we want dead people. That doesn't mean we're cheering on the demise. You guys are cheering on the Portland doom loop. That makes it a GOP doom loop. That makes it a conservative doom loop. When you're not helping, you're actually cheering on the deaths. You're cheering it on. That's fucked up. And you're beyond narcissist psychopath if you can't look in the mirror and see your position is fucked up, unchristian, un-American, unacceptable. Shame on you. You call yourself a conservative. You call yourself a Christian, you're going to cheer on people dead and strung out and floating in our rivers. I'm so disgusted. So disgusted. But what do? We need help. And as from a social service lens, we need help from the federal government because it ain't going to happen from the state of Oregon. It ain't going to happen with these conservatives that are cheering on our demise and these people that want to see Portland fail, that want to see Portland dead because they hate us that much. Let that sink in. Long pause. Long pause. They want us dead. So we don't talk about Medicaid cuts. We don't talk about work requirements. Now let me talk briefly. It's 17 minutes in, it's too long. But I got to touch on this. Let me because this came to me too at 3 a.m. when I woke up cold sweats and more than once this last month thinking about these things. I'm doing deep analysis in my dreams and it's triggering me. I'm waking up and I'm like stressed in thinking about what I was thinking about in my dream of our demise and how bad it is in Portland. In the world, we're on the brink of World War IV. That's another video. And that ain't no joke. Get on your hands and knees and pray to God. Because it's going to take a lot of prayer to turn this nuclear holocaust around. But the work requirements, what is missed by these conservative little rat brain, these mice gerbil brains of the conservative, that people just need to pull up their bootstraps and go get a job and they're going to turn it around and they're going to get an apartment and wow, it's just, that's all they need. That's all they need. They don't need a helping hand. They just got to get their bootstraps pulled up tight and laced up and just get out there. Let me tell you dipshits a few things. There's at least 7,000 people under blue tarps and tents around the city. Most of them are using some substance abuse of some kind of coping mechanism. If they weren't mentally ill going into the streets, they're mentally ill coming out of the streets after a couple of months. Okay? I've worked with them for years. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. If they didn't have mental illness going onto the streets, they get the mental illness very quickly from the trauma on that street. Okay? You don't want these people on your job site. You don't want these people working the cash till. They're wrestling some demons. They're chasing the Finty Dragon. They're wrestling some demons. Okay? You hear me? This is not just people we need to just go get a job and go get them in there and everything's going to be great. One of the dreams I had is, it was like, do you remember the 1980s? I'm Gen X. Do you remember the 1980s when we had a thing called going postal? Quote unquote, going postal. We had so many United States Postal Service, like, shootings, workplace shootings, like at the I don't know, warehouse. I don't know how the fuck it works. I've known a number of Vietnam veterans. I think I might be a part of it. They brought in a lot of veterans, a lot of people that weren't doing well, which is great, right? They got their jobs, but the amount of workplace executions, shootings, was so epidemic, whatever you want to call it, that they actually had a nickname called going postal. You don't want to bring people going postal into your work environment. It's not good. It doesn't build team morale. It's not going to produce the revenue you hope it did. Okay? And I'm not trying to belittle the people that can't work, but they're not diagnosed. They don't have a doctor to sign off and say you shouldn't be going to with pistols and shooting up your coworkers. They don't have any doctors sign off because we haven't gotten them. They haven't been able to even get themselves in that medical loop of finding a primary care provider or even getting on insurance, Medicaid, or even getting in that direction. Rehab is expensive. That requires Medicaid. When you're dealing with people that have nothing, they have no insurance. Why do you think they're not getting treatment? They have no insurance. They got no money. They're strung out. So it's a little gerbil wheel of irony, hypocrisy. What do you call that? Situation irony? I guess it is. It's the cause and effect. We don't want to be forcing people with physical issues and psychological issues into our job site because of mandates, so they can have their $200 in food stamps or even get their insurance or get on insurance. Or most people that need help don't even have insurance. They're uninsured. That's because there's been nobody there in an office to sit them down, or a computer, which they could do at the library, but they're probably doing other things down at the library. Look at the death numbers down there. It's not everybody. Now, I'm making broad statements. I'm talking about like 80% of the houseless population, which doesn't exist. They're not a whole group. They're individuals, but I'm using that in the terms defining houseless population. They're in rough shape and they're not ready for work. They're going to be doing things on the job site that are not good, not healthy, not legal. And it's not a win-win. So you're going to increase the volume of people that are not well by kicking them off of Medicaid, cutting off those medications of those who are on an insurance, because you're going to say they're able-bodied because there's nobody there to sign off on that paper. There's work requirements now. If you're going to collect even a couple $100 in temporary assistance for needy families, you have to go work now without any new big, beautiful, polished golden turds. You have to do that now. Or you have to have a doctor sign off and say, yeah, you're near death or you're trying to stay alive and we need you to stay alive for your kids. So work on staying alive, work on getting healthy, work on curing the cancer, work on whatever mental health issues. Think about some medications for some of these people. And some psychotropics do help some people. That's a whole nother video. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not a doctor and I'm not recommending that, but I have seen it help some people. Just the fact that they've got a doctor that's sitting down and cares for them or paid to care for them, paid to pretend like they care for them and prescribe some things. I'm not against pharmaceuticals. I'm not a hater of pharmaceuticals because I've seen how pharmaceuticals have helped people gain a normal functioning life. The best that you could call normal functioning life, being poor and struggling. But you follow me? I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes to avoid. There's some stereotypes that need to be applied. So it's dangerous. I mean, like I said with my dream, I was like, my God, we're going back. What these Republicans or what these critics here, the Senator Rand Paul and all this shit wants to cut all the welfare for everybody and just kick everybody to the fucking curb and save $1 billion. Yay! Yeah, Rand Paul, I know you hate people with welfare. Oh my God. We don't want people in a job site that shouldn't be in the job site. They should be taking care of themselves, and they can't do that effectively unless they've got some shelter. You can't make your doctor's appointments out of a tent. That should be obvious, but it's not. It's not. Both sides, left and right, the neoliberals and these conservatives, neither one of them are understanding that part. They just miss that. They just look at it as all welfare and it's all going to hell. So 25 minutes, I'll just wrap it up there. It's a lot on my mind about that. And I hope that I was effectively able to share some of that concerns me about some of this dynamics. We're making Donald Trump look like a liar when we put in age adjustments into the existing big, golden, polished, beautiful non-bill. It's gone from, I think it was 53 to, I think, 64 or 65. There's some sort of adjustment there. There's other adjustments. So you're telling people that they've got to go work to even get food stamps, which they're going to need to get looking for a job. If they can even find a job, they're going to need some help there. So you're trapping people in a paradigm, a catch-22. You're demanding that they have work because they're able-bodied, because they don't have a medical professional that says you're not able-bodied, but yet they're not able to function on any serious level, at least my perspectives of what I would call a serious functioning employee. So it makes, that's really damaging. I don't know if you understand that, but it's for somebody like me, like an independent, it's like when you expose a leader for months that have said one thing and now he's going along with the exact opposite of what he said. He wasn't going to cut Medicaid and it's totally off limits. And, we're not touching Medicare. We're not touching Social Security. We're not doing any of this to you legitimate Americans that we love because you're our base and you voted for us. So that's how we got here. That's how I got into the White House, right? Was you. Not rhinos, not millionaires in Congress, not even Republicans. There wasn't enough Republicans to get Donnie in there. We needed the independents. We needed the Democrats, which they did. That's Maha and Bobby and those guys. They brought it in. That's the American First umbrella. Those are the people that are going to be voting in the midterms or not voting or voting against you now because you've betrayed and lied to them. You've exposed Don, who is an awesome dude, as a liar because you're now effing with Medicaid. Even the age adjustment. Even with that, these work requirements, which already exist. Stop talking about it. There's already some work requirements for some of this. Most of the welfare, except for SNAP and except for the insurance. Now you're going to apply that just to even have insurance. You're going to put that on them. The visual I leave you with is the 1980s, 1990s United States Postal Service crisis. Job site crisis. Pew, 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 pew. Because that's what's coming. And I'm an alarmist. I'm making shit up. When you force unhealthy people into job environments or even social environments, you're going to have catastrophes. We have them now. We have people triggered and snapping and blowing up and shooting up and popping up and all over the place. It's absolutely tragic. Just this weekend, there was multiple teen shootings. People are celebrating and partying in warehouses, and then there's massive gunfire and people dead. Multiple happened this last weekend. That's one weekend. So we already have that happening. It's not you go, bro, you're making shit up. It's actually happening right now. All I'm saying is it's going on right now. I'm not making anything up. It's happening right now. Just snap the fuck out of it, ding dongs. It's happening right now. People are falling apart right now all over the country. When you cut their insurance or cut their medications or cut their food, there's nothing more dangerous than a hungry man. Maybe an unmedicated man is more dangerous if they're on medications. Or getting that man on his medications, whatever it could be. It could even be blood pressure medication. That is going to be more serious than that. But even that's your kidneys. That's your function. That's going to allow you to stand up. That's going to create strength in your legs. I mean, there's basic things that happen with just basic medical attention and medications. People need that. We need to improve Medicaid. We need to improve Section 8 and housing. We need to build veterans. That was Rep. Luna, I think, was down in Florida. I think she's still got it. I don't know if that's with this big, beautiful, polished bill. But she had a bill or something saying that let's finalize our veterans housing across the country. Veterans. I think she's Air Force. I love Laura. But my point is that I don't know what the deal is with that bill, but that's exactly what we need. We need to take care of those veterans. Let's take care of the poor families that are struggling, because that's our children there are going to be the next generation. They need help. They need help. They're going to need some rent assistance. They have needed it. And we've just seen that quadruple and tenfold in Portland. It's got to be happening along the West Coast. I know it is. It's got to be happening across the country. So we need more Medicaid and less restrictions on getting people into those Medicaid programs, because that's how we get people into alcohol and drug detox. And we can bill on the rehab, which can be sometimes for a year. They can actually get a year's housing if we can get them to sign off and come in to the treatment, which needs to be paid. That is Medicaid. How else are you going to pay that? How else are you going to detox those that need detox? How else are you going to get drug treatment for those that are intense all over Portland right now without some Medicaid, without some insurance or federal assistance? You can't. And that's why we got 100 people dying and dozens floating in our rivers right now in Portland. That failure, that is the link that broke. That funding and construction and some policy, but it's that funding, and that is the Medicaid umbrella. Very, very critical, very important. If you didn't understand that, you're in another world. And if you don't care, you're either a narcissist, which is so self-absorbed you can't actually, there's no empathy to feel, or worse. I'm reading a lot of posts from conservatives that are full-blown sociopaths. When you're cheering on the deaths, whether they're your real adversary or a boogeyman adversary or just on that wrong other political spectrum, you're a sociopath. You're not with God. You're not a conservative. You're not an Oregonian. You're not even an American. You hate us all. You're a sociopath. You don't even fit in. You're like Grizzly Adams, but yet you've got weapons and you're, threatening to nuke people in the mountains. I don't know. What did... Something like that. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I had to get it off. It's been in dreams and it's still on my mind. And it looks like things are going to get much worse. It looks like the way that the powers that be with these rhinos and Democrats are going to jump on, we are in a downward death spiral. And instead of helping people, we're burying them, or I guess it's probably the cheapest way to do with poor folks. They probably just burn them, cremation. And maybe that's the plan. We're fitting right into a globalist agenda of depopulation. I'm watching it firsthand in my own beloved hometown of Portland. We weren't always like this. We weren't always fucked up. We weren't always having dozens and dozens of bodies floating around in the river. We've never seen fentanyl here before. We survived crack in the 80s and 90s. That was pretty bad. This is way beyond that. This damage, how it's wrecking people's brains, it's not just fentanyl that they're doing. They're actually combining meth with the fentanyl and smoking these combinations of drugs, which crunk and crank, and there's animal tranquilizer. It's weird. And it's intentional, and it's coming to destroy us from south of the border. Now, Donnie has helped seal that. It sounds like he sealed the southern border. Now we've got the Tricoms running it all down through Canada. So now we got to seal the northern border, right? So, but stop with the Medicaid jargon. Stop trying to gaslight us and tell us that it's not included, and we're all just a bunch of lunatics for saying that it's going to do something to Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP benefits. We can read it. Now, the Senate can make adjustments. The bad news there is the Senate wants to cut more welfare. The Senate wants to kill more people. They want dozens bodies floating in my rivers. Because that's what they say and that's what they do when you cut funding for Medicaid. You cut people's treatment. You cut people's rehab. You cut people's chance and lifeline to get out of that hole that becomes a grave. Okay? God bless. Peace out.